Shalom.
Shalom.
Someone asked a question about how we sanctify or consecrate ourselves. And so, first let's, I'm going to read a piece here that says, in Kabbalah, the concept of sanctification, it's understood as a process of elevating or purifying something in order to make it holy. In Hebrew, the term is Kedusha. It involves imbuing an object, space, or action to a connection with the divine. And so, I mean, why? Well, in the Zohar, which is a commentary on the scriptures, in this case the Torah, they're specifically on 184 in Shemot. This is out of, and there went a man out of the house of Levi. It says, and the Holy One, blessed be he, assisted him, for we learn the Shekinah dwelt on their bed, and that their intention when they cleaved together was on the Shekinah. Therefore, the Shekinah was not removed from the son whom they bore, so as to fulfill what is written, and you shall sanctify yourselves, and you shall be holy. Vayikra 11:44. A person sanctifies himself from below, so the Holy One, blessed be he, sanctifies him from above. As their intention was the cleaving of the Shekinah, so did the Shekinah cleave to their very actions. So what does all this mean? How can one set aside themselves as holy or an object or place? That's a tall order and a dangerous one, because are not all things truly of God? Wouldn't God, very God, include every aspect, from the lowest to the low, to the greatest to the great, to the possibilities, the potentials, the imaginings, the dreams that each and every person has, plus that of the dog and the goldfish and every creature on earth and above earth and beyond? Are not all these things included in the most holy of holies, the holy blessed one alone? God, the one whole, one God that would combine everything. So it seems an impossible task and a dangerous one to set anything aside as this is holy and this is not. For the idea in modern religions and faiths is that I'll set myself aside, that I'll be holy, which includes the definition of the, if you go right, I will go left, as the scriptures say. If you go left, I will go right, as Abraham was speaking to Lot. In the same likeness, if I try to designate a place as that's a place we're special for God, then is that designating that God is not in another place? So the danger of this whole situation is that most assuredly there is a way to see this accomplished and a way to do it appropriately without separation. But the only way is through the word. The only way is through the Lashon HaKodesh, that's the holy tongue, the Jewish script. And the reason being is it has 22 letters with 7 that fell, which creates pi, because 22 divided by 7 is 3.14 eternal. So now we've accounted for a God that's exponential, and that's mathematically sound with the measurements we try to equate to things, because how could God be exponential? And yet we have something that shows this is in existence, and it does not break any of the code that goes with everyone's belief systems, for truly all God is known to be is everywhere and everything and exponential. Anything less is a smaller God, and therefore under the auspices of that which is greater, and this includes the principles. The only way to achieve what we're discussing, and the reason it requires the holy letters, is not only that, but the mother letters are Aleph, Mem, and Shin. And when one is exposed to the truth, Amet, truth to Yaakov, when one truly understands that the Bariatic Torah has been taken away because of the sins of mankind, for our iniquity, our mother was taken away. What this means is the Bariatic Torah, the constructual Torah, has been lost since the disconnection from the oral Torah and the written Torah has occurred. Only when the completion of the oral Torah, the written Torah, and the Bariatic Torah are connected will those blessings that are promised be completely seen. And so in this likeness, when one is able to see all of reality is indeed God, and can actually measure it, not just in imagining, not just a fantasy, a hope, a thought, a dream, but to actually know what I'm seeing is God. That is the commandment, and it can only be fulfilled through Aleph separates Mem from Shin, because when we take those holy letters and we examine those mother letters and we put them in this stack, we find that all things are built in this construct just as directed to Moshe. And how do I know? Because Aleph represents air variable, Mem represents water and earth, solids and liquids, and Shin represents fire, covering for the light. So in the same likeness, how could I consecrate something but if I could look into reality and see it as holy, as it was already consecrated by God? For surely I don't have the power to do such a thing, but I am able to bear witness. And with these eyes, ears, nose, with this taste and with these feelings, I can reach out into this place and I can see Aleph separates Mem from Shin as truth. How do I know this? All faces fall under the governing of eyes on top of nose, nose on top of mouth. The eyes that see the light, which is energy, is divided by the mouth that takes in liquids and solids, by the air in between that nose. And in the same stack, that tree is on top of another tree. It's in the keter, or the crown of the lower tree, of where my head, which handles all the light functions of my body, is separating my stomach, where my liquids and solids are digested, by my lungs that pump the air. In the same likeness, I'm able to see that this holy thing is also in my environment. I put one foot in the sand on the stone, put one foot in the water of the sea. I look into the environment of my sky and I see Aleph separating Mem, which Mem, of course, is earth and water together. They're always together. They are separated from the sun by my environment. I go into space, I find a centralized star. The space itself is Aleph. It separates Mem, the planets, which were made of liquids, solids, or gases, to reflecting the light back from the original source. I see it in the dog. All the animals, they have faces. Their faces are a tree on top of a tree. Eyes on top of nose, nose on top of mouth, head on top of tummy. Head on top of chest, chest on top of tummy. And even in the non-complicated organisms, like a jellyfish, which seems to pop up to the most, is it not also made of energy, gases, liquids, solids? And so these mother letters lead to the elemental roots of our reality. So in order to truly set aside a place that's for God, you should be able to set aside this entire place and see the truth. Because it's not dependent on how we feel, what we think, what we perceive, or experiences, good or bad. That is not reality. And our God is certainly one that establishes truth as well as untruth. And so, be ye holy as I am holy is the commandment. So don't try to go somewhere to find God. Don't try to build a place to go. Don't try to set aside 10 minutes in your life for God. Your whole existence is contingent on God. Everything you own is contingent on God. Your perspective is warped because you got pride. Everybody got pride. They were built with it. It's part of the equipment of the sword to make sure we stay in check. Because as soon as someone thinks they know something about God, it tends to be elusive. God tends to humble us really quick to show us that we can get near him, but not be him. But just to be able to glimpse that fact, that truth, that Aleph separates Mem from Shin, that's been revealed here. And it's tethered directly to the scriptures of the Torah. Torah HaKodesh. And that word is the root, the word we just spoke of earlier. Holy. Zohar HaKodesh. These matters are far loftier than just what we talk about. So how does one achieve it? How could one see Aleph Mem Shin on the day-to-day like we've just discussed? I had to spend time. I had to spend time. Time is true currency here. Because that indeed is limited in this place. And the time that I spent searching for God, seeking for God, wanting to know what that power was and being close to it. With true intent to get to know my maker like my lover, my God, my friend. To bring one as close as one could get to cleave to God, to learn what I have to do. I found out that in order to sanctify, what that means, in order to see Hashem, is to focus on those letters. It requires my attention and dedication to that. So instead of looking at other things, I had to focus my attention on what I wanted to learn. By focusing on Him, the answers were given to me. When I look out there, all I get is questions, but when I look to the Torah, all I get is answers. And so there's awakening below before there's an awakening above, as it's brought up often. And what does that mean? Well, one has to make space before they can put furniture in it. And so, in the same likeness, to empty a vessel, to make it set aside so that you can put something better inside of it, the improvement of it. The idea is that one has to stop doing the things that are getting between my study of Hashem and refocus my energies on what I can learn about those letters, because through those letters alone am I able to find the truth that I have sought. And the portion that comes with these letters is there's perfect mathematics it's called gematria, that go with these letters. And it was hard for me to learn, but letters came before numbers. And how human development over time isn't nearly as important as what the truth is behind the scenes. So, every day, you can try to say you don't, but you kill because you eat and you drink. And something had to pay that price so that you could put it in you. And you can try to dance around the fact of what it is, but make no mistake, at the end of the day, you're a killer. God made you that way, and you call it life. Well then, when He shows up, my question for you is, since you are what you are, do you kill for God, or do you kill for another reason? All things glorify Hashem. It's a difficult place to understand the human condition because we require programming up top, and down below it has requirements as well. But to let the lower requirements dominate what happens above, that's what's called allowing the handmaiden to be in charge. Sure, I get hungry, but I don't let that rule how I operate. I have to trust Hashem from the very beginning, because in the end, I don't really control what I thought I controlled. I surely don't control the breath going in and out of this body. That's God breathing through me. I don't control the signals of when it's time to poop. And if I could, I'd shut it off. Hashem has made me a poop bag, just like you. So nobody's better than nobody else here. And He's humbled all of us in this beautiful situation. And so even in these places that are darkness, where we don't like to look or don't want to look, understand that God is absolutely present. And so when He has sanctified something as holy, it is holy. And He alone will do that. So is this not His creation? And if He created it, is it not holy? How do you treat your neighbor? How do you treat your trash? Hashem be glorified in all these things. That's for sure. I love Sephiroth Mem from Shin forever. Amen. Shalom.